Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is my August reading journal setup. I was sort of struggling with an idea as far as theme goes for this setup because August is really kind of a month of limbo for us. It's one of those months that sort of lives between two seasons, and it's like a representation of like an end and a beginning. It's the end of summer, but it's one of the hottest months in Florida. But it also has the beginning of school, which sort of gives off a fall vibe, you know, with the clothes that you buy and all that. So I really had no idea what I wanted for this theme. Ultimately, I decided to sort of challenge myself to use supplies I already had on hand and kind of recreate a theme I'd already done. If you've been around for a while, you may recognize a lot of these elements from my first attempt at my 2022 setup that I ended up giving to my daughter. While I loved the way it turned out, I wanted something different, but since I haven't seen that setup since I created it, since I don't use that journal, I thought it would be fun to use the same paper pack that I used to see what I could come up with. I started off with this gray daisy paper, which I honestly never even really noticed the millions of times that I flipped through all those papers. I think it's because generally I'm not drawn to gray. Also, most of the papers in this pack have a lot of brown in them, and gray and brown just seems kind of weird to me. But I was in the mood to experiment, so I just kind of embraced the gray, brown, and pink, and I love the way that this turned out. Like, I love it. I'm doing the August cover page on the left and the books that I've read for the month on the right. I'm going to use the favorite things card to write the books in. I felt like this was the perfect spot, especially since I've read 6 books so far in July and there are 6 spots. I'm pretty proud of myself with this layout because a lot of the elements I used were scrap pieces. The pink grid and the white butterfly cutouts are both scraps from my 2022 setup. The butterflies are cutouts from a whole sheet of paper that had butterflies and moons all over it. The craft paper is scraps from wrapping paper that I used for Christmas presents. I also decided to stamp a ton of butterflies on sticker paper scraps from when I print all of my book covers. I always have strips of sticker paper left over and I hate to throw it away. The best part of doing this is that I was able to stamp all of the butterflies and cut them out while watching a movie with my daughter, so I had quality Princess and the Frog time with my youngest. It's our favorite Disney movie. And now I also have a ton of butterfly stickers for future spreads. Totally calling that a win-win. I feel like this layout has a very romantic vibe to it, and I think it's totally fitting for my reading journal since I love a good romance novel. For the August title, I used a stamp that I honestly forgot I had. It's just an old school date stamp, but I love the simplicity of it. The next spread is sort of a tracker spread. I changed it up a bit because I wanted to use certain elements. I wanted to stick with the craft paper, but I also wanted to change the way I've done my time log the last couple months. Not because I didn't like it, but you guys know I just like to change things up so I don't get bored. So I stamped mini calendars on craft paper for my format tracker. In July, I've read exclusively physical books, but in June, I read mostly audio and digital, so that's why I like to do these little calendars because I think it's fun to look back and see how I'm sort of consuming all of these books that I read. For my Book of the Month picks, I wanted to use the little memo sheets that I got from Stationery Pal. I'm going to try to print the book covers in like a sepia tone so that it sort of matches the spread, but I don't know how it's going to turn out. We'll see. I used the daisy washi from the washi tape shop to decorate the page a bit more. I think I just like it because of the gold touches that it sort of adds to the spread. It's just a little hint of glamour. On the right side of the spread, I have my time tracker. I realized while designing this layout that I have never done a bookshelf spread. It's pretty typical in a reading journal to have a bookshelf somewhere in your journal to write the titles on the spines, but for some reason, I've never done it. I did do a book theme in February, but I still didn't do a bookshelf anywhere in that layout. So while I was rummaging through my stamps, I came across this stack of books from Studio Calico. Now, I know that typically when people create bookshelves in their journals, the books are going vertically, not horizontally, but I actually really loved the idea of the horizontal book stacks because not only do I have some books on my bookshelves stacked like this as decoration, but I also have stacks of books in front of other books because I have no more room on my bookcase for the books that I keep buying. So long story short, I'm doing one book stack to represent each day of the month. I'm super happy with the way this looks, and I cannot wait to start filling it out. Since most of the writing or ink on this spread is brown, I wanted to use my gray grid washi tape to keep with the whole gray, brown, and pink thing I had going on in the last spread. I'm using some beautiful label stickers from Paper Minty Studio and my favorite alphabet stamps as the headers. Of course, I'm going to finish off the spread with butterflies and sparkles. I would like to say that eventually I'll cool it with the butterflies, but I still really love the way that they look, so I make no promises. Maybe when it starts to get cooler and I don't see butterflies every time I step outside, I'll change things up, but for now, it's clearly not happening. And I'll probably never stop doing sparkles. It finishes off a page so nicely. Next, we're moving on to my favorite quotes and my favorite book of the month spread. The layout of the spread has honestly been the same for so long that I'm sure you guys are kind of sick of it, but this one is always one of my favorite spreads every month, so I can't seem to make myself change it up. So since the spread pretty much explains itself, I kind of wanted to take a second to chat about the changes my reading journal has gone through this year. In 2021, my reading journal was very drawing heavy. I did a little bit of collaging, but for the most part, I drew everything, especially my book spreads. If you guys have seen my videos, I did a very drawing heavy Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows book video, but since I haven't been able to draw much because of my hand, you guys know that I have fully embraced the collage life. Clearly from this video. That being said, my individual book spreads have changed. And honestly, that's kind of why I stopped filming them. I've had a few people ask about them, so I'm hoping to film a video next week showing you guys how I'm doing my book spreads, as well as sort of a closing out my month in my reading journal. I'm actually super excited about doing that video because I'm still not 100% sold on the way I've done my book spreads in the past, and I kind of can't wait to get your feedback and hear if you guys do the same thing or what you guys do differently, and just chat with you guys about books again, especially since I just finished an incredibly popular, critically acclaimed book that I kind of hate. So yeah, stay tuned for that video. right, so that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!